Good afternoon to all students. There is some deletion and addition in lecture delivered by me yesterday in part 1. Yesterday means the 3rd May. Part 1 is related to the reform in family law. Deletion part, after receiving some advice from Professor K.C. Joshi, former Vice Chancellor of Kumaon University, it requires to modify some portion of the yesterday's lecture, especially of the 2 points are requires to be modified or corrected. These 2 points are basically of the Remarriage Act before the independence. In remarriage means the remarriage of widow act before the independence in India, which has enacted in the year 1856, and that act has enacted, and the contribution goes to, or credit goes to, Lord Dalhousie. After the prevention of sati 1829, William Bentinck's efforts, another reform was there, and that reform was the Widow Remarriage Act of 1856, and credit goes to the Dalhousie. Second correction and deletion is related to the Shariat Act. The Shariat Act is the act of the year 1937, and in the Government of India Act 1919, a act was passed by the Britishers in 1919. The central legislature, which has known as the Legislative Assembly, has established by that act of 1919. Therefore, the Shariat Act was enacted by the central legislation, which is known in another words, Legislative Assembly. These are 2 correction with reference to the part 1 of yesterday's lecture, and another aspect which are required to be added in the yesterday's lecture relating to the reform in family law. That is, what are the areas where still there is called the dark areas, or burning areas, or gray areas, which requires to be thought for the reform. These areas has recommended by the Law Commission to incorporate, or to make, either to incorporate or to make the separate legislation in India. One is the dead letters which are still there. These dead letters are related to the Uniform Civil Code. Under the Article 44 of the Constitution, and some judgment has delivered by the court, Supreme Court, Sarla Mudgar and so on, and but it has not been implemented till today. This is grey. For all, there should be the common code of legislation for all the human being in the society, in India especially. The second is related to the no fault theory of divorce. No fault theory, though the court has evolved the breakdown theory, I have highlighted yesterday, but there is some gray area. Mutual consent divorce is one of the part, I agree, under section 13b of the Hindu Marriage Act. But for all, the question is for all the citizens, there should be the no fault divorce concept should be incorporated either in legislation or the law should be made for that purpose for all the citizens. And the one of the aspect relating to the this gray area is differently abled persons are also there, and they should have the special right. Special rights should be given to those persons who are under this otherwise abled criteria of physical disability, and that requires to make the separate aspect of the law. And the some aspect one upon the conversion, if one will converge or will take the another or will accept the another religion, then there is problem relating to the marriage, because in personal law various separate type of legal system or the personal customary laws are there. Therefore this should also be taken into consideration for the reform. And restitution of conjugal rights under the Hindu law, if you will see the section 9, there are again some special type of problems, and these problems should be solved by way of this making the amendment in a personal law. Restitution of conjugal rights to give the opportunity to live together, even if after this suppose there is some conflict in between the husband and the wife, and that should be reconsidered. Today the conditions are somehow different which were not there earlier. That should also be considered. And then in the Muslim law, inherent rights of the female, that should also be taken into consideration, because there are no doubt the equality aspect is under the problem or under the issue, that should also be taken into the consideration for the inherent inheritance. And the in the same way some lacunas are under the personal law of the Parsi community, and these are related to this adoption and all these things. This should be taken into account for the reform. Parsi law guardianship issue is also there, polygamy and halala issue is also there, and these issues should be tackled by the legislature. Otherwise the chances are there to interfere by the court, and in future the another judgment will come, just like the judgment delivered by at present the Sahara Banu case by the constitutional bench of the Supreme Court. These areas are not confined only one personal law, but these are the area which are called the gray area, developing areas, dark areas, requires to be rethink over it. And these are the situation under every law, and these issues also recommended by the law commission also. It should be taken into consideration. Now there are some figures about uh, the some social status of the family law. I'm not going to enter the Family Court Act. There is a separate act. It is in operation and has been enforced. 1984 Act is there. Now there are the separate matters, separate issues, and for separate matters, separate issue, there is a separate court having the competent judge as laid down under this 84 Act, 1984 Act, and rules made thereunder with the consultation of the High Court by the state government. And therefore, and these are working in every place. Every place means a district headquarter or in the regional places also. And it has written in 84 Act, and this is a separate law as a separate code. But there are some figure are related, as I have pointed out, the child marriage issue. One of the child marriage issue is still existing in the Indian social system. And that child marriage restraint act is there. Amendments continuous are going on that part. But still there are the figures. If we will see the child marriage ratio in India, there are 27% persons are entering into the marriage having the capacity of child. And having the capacity of child means the definition of child for the purpose of the marriage is 18 years of the girl and 21 years of the boy. So less than 18 years girls are there. 27% ratio is existing in India of this child marriage. And if we will see less than 15 years of age, the 7% the girls child marriage is there, and it is being solemnized by the consent of parents and that guardian. And the persons who are going in the marriage ceremony, they are also the committing offense of abatement. There is law, everything is there, law, and voidable void, and this issue is voidable, and on the option of all these things are there. But ratio says that 27% of the child marriages are going on there. And then now what is the percentage of the married persons, especially if you compare the data available of USA, developed country, and India. In USA, the unmarried percentage of the human being who are adult there, the 27%. And divorce rate is also there of 10% in USA. In the same way, in India, divorce rate is very low. I agree, 7% near about there is the divorce rate in India, because these are the areas which requires to be taken care of by making the law or by some practical aspect of the law also. And India, there are the other percentage of the remarriage that is very thin data or very limited data is there. 1% remarriage is 1%, and in that 1%, the male are more than the female. Equality is not there. Therefore, this is the situation of Indian society and the American society, a developed country. And therefore, the law, only law cannot solve the problem. It requires to change the nature, attitude, and the customary system by the human being. And honor killing problem is also there, and for that purpose the ratio of the successful marriages of the own arrangement means on the basis of own choice, as it is a human right prescribed under UDHR and cultural, social and economic rights also 16 we have discussed. So there is successful rate is very limited or very the less successful rate is also there, and in that successful rate you will surprised to know, and you can search the data also, it is only 1%. Therefore the divorce ratio is more than that, or that should also be taken into consideration. No doubt the honor killing is an offense, and society should change its attitude for the betterment of everyone. And these are the areas. Succession, there is again problem. No one, even if in Hindu law there is some amendment, but I will not go in detail. There is very limited time, and that's why then think over it and the highlight those areas which are required to be reformed continuously, and which efforts has been uh, taken by the William Benting, Lord Dalhousie, and then center legislation, or after the independence, the parliament, and continuously there are the efforts for the betterment of the dignified life of everyone in the society relating to the family matters. Therefore, these are required to be done again and again. And mediation is also there, counselor is also there, and so many things are there. But the successful rate is very less. And once there is a the some uh, conflict or some crack in between the thoughts of the male and female, certainly the issue is very difficult to solve. And what should be done for that purpose? These are the issues also. And if the husband is not in position to maintain the wife, he has no resources where from he will give the maintenance. Such type of, he is not in job, he is not earning, he is dependent on another's father, and all these things in some cases are there. If you will see, and whether the father is under the legal obligation to give the maintenance to the daughter-in-law. If he widow he sees widow, then there is another situation it may be, but still there is a problem, and that should be done something by the legislature to amend the laws. Now, today's topic is related to the industrialization vis-a-vis environmental protection. You know that this industrialization system in the global society begin from, or it has started from the year 1760, and the 1760, or especially of 1840, there was the initial stage of the industrialization which has started in the global society. And when the industries has established by the developed countries at that time, especially the Britain, there was there was no such type of problem relating to the protection of environment, because the industries were very limited, and their function was limited one, and such type of issue was not there. When the industrial culture adopted by every country in the world, every country in the last decade of, or half of the 19th century, that has started to establish the industry, and there was such type of problem relating to the protection of environment. But the global society was not worried about this system at that time, and especially in the middle of 20th century. In the middle of 20th century, when the industrialization was in peak, there was some problem of that industrialization, and under this some problem, one of the problem was relating to the protection of environment. Another problem was the laborers or the workers condition, work hours of the labor, and their the rest of the workers, at the same time their leaves. This was the another area, but this is not related to this topic. This topic is related to the protection of environment in case of industrialization. Industrialization, this is under your social transformation subject, and therefore this, due to this industrialization, a problem was there, the increasing of population and urbanization. The population migrated from rural areas to the urban area for searching the job, and they got the job in the industries. And population of the urban area certainly increased. And when the population increased, there was the problem of the shelter, and there was the problem of the getting the essential needs from the city or in urban area. That was the aspect of this system of industrialization. And another was there to how to protect the environment. Of course, the air, noise, water, and soil also. Soil have some boundaries, and this is, there is a demarcation of this country soil and that country soil. But for the air and for water, there is no demarcation, there is no limitation, there is no control of particular country over the air. If a polluted air comes from one country who have the much industries, that cannot be controlled by that country, because it will go to another country where there are less factory, less industries, and therefore a problem of the environment, if in a particular country, that is the problem for others also. That is for the others. It directly affects to the other. Therefore, at the international forum, it has thought that there should be some laws to protect the environment in case of the pollution by the industries, and how that can be done. And Earth Summit, Stockholm, the conference, you know that is the 1972, and by that conference some guidelines had laid down by the international community for the protection of all the persons who are living globally in a particular society. And due to these guidelines of Earth Summit, the most of the countries had enacted the law. And that was the time when the international community gave the direction to make the law. India also had enacted some law, and these laws are the laws of the 74 law. If you will see, this is of Water Prevention Control Pollution Act 1974, after 2 years. And not only this, the Constitution also amended by 42nd Amendment, 1976. As you know, we had discussed under the FD, Fundamental Duties, Article 51A, especially the subclause G, we have seen. And we have seen the other part, 48A and all these things, when we were discussing some issues relating to this matters. Now here the matter is related to the the laws of the protection of the industries. The most, not only this, air pollution law is also there. Control to air pollution 1981 law is there in India, which is existing. But the more powerful law is here in India, that is called the law enacted by the parliament in the year 1986. That law is known as Environmental Protection Act 1986. And this law is a special law which says about the protection of environment from the pollution created by industries. It is a unique piece of legislation enacted by the Indian legislature in the year 1986, and there is the preamble and object of this law. The first one is the basically of the effect of the international guidelines, which was given in the conference of Stockholm Earth Summit. There was the mandatory for the India to enact the law to control and prevent the pollution which is coming through the industry, factories, and by the other institutions where there is a hazardous functions, hazardous work, and that hazardous work requires to be prevented by the law, legal provisions. And secondly, there was the mandate in our constitution to protect. It is the duty and to make the law as prescribed under the directive principles. There was the system to protect this environment, and that was the object. And now the point is that the how many parts are there and what are the provisions under this legislation, what is the mechanism and remedy available under this piece of legislation to control the pollution created by the industries, factories, and other institutions where the hazardous work is going on. And other aspect is that whether this law is complete for its enforcement, or this is being implemented. Of course, if you will see that there is one provision, submission of report. The every industry, every factory, or every institution is required to be registered under the provision of law, and if that is registered, then certainly the duty to submit the report. And for submitting the report, there is the provision says that in the month 31st March of every year, it will require to give the report by the industrialist. It requires to give the report by the industrialist. Ranjit, always you are creating problem. You are coming late again and again, and why you are not muting your mic, please? This is not a good habit. This is your habit of daily. I am going to be disturbed. These statements are going to be recorded, and this is the mandatory provision to send it to university and uploading in the university apps, the website. Please don't do like this. Now, the point is that what is the meaning of environment? What are the authorities? How it can be protected, the environment can be preserved, under this provision of this law, how the pollution can be controlled, and the what are the functions, and if any industrialist or the owner of the industry will violate any provision of the this law, what is the punishment for that? These are the questions. And what are the lacunas in this law, and how should be the removed these lacuna? Because today there is a acute problem relating to the protection of environment by way of industries. Industries in India are very essential for the rapid action and for the protection, for the supplying of goods, for manufacturing, and for providing the every kind of facility to the human being. These are very essential. Therefore, the system which requires to be adopted is more powerful. We have not forgotten the UCC of that Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal, and so on. These are the problem plagued still today. Now, of course, this is the practical aspect, but come on the provisions of this law, and this law of 1986, which requires to be discussed with the basic provisions of this law and vis-a-vis the industrialization in India. And today there is uh, either the computer revolution or industrial revolution is going on, and only two sectors are working in a manner as required for the betterment and facility of the human being in the society. Therefore, the first part, if you will see, there are the some chapters. It is divided under certain chapters, and these chapters are the four chapters in this law, and having the only 22nd or 26, sorry, 26 sections are there. Four chapters, 26 sections are there, and rules made thereunder. And the last section is related 25, is power of the center government to make the rules for the smooth conducting of this legislation. Therefore, the center government has made the rules, and these rules are also there, and it has came into force basically of the in the month of September, in the month of September, and the 1986 it had came into existence. And the first part is as usual, as you have seen, that first part means chapter 1, section 1 and 2. Section 1 always related to the name, extension, and enforcement. And one of the essential quality characteristics of this legislation is that in every act, because it has made in the year 1986, when there was the enforcement of Article 370, and in every act you can see that except Jammu Kashmir. But in this act, it has not written except the Jammu Kashmir. It means the 86 Act is applied on Jammu Kashmir also, even if there was the temporary provisions of Article 370. But what was the reason? Why? And for that purpose, in 370, there was the one of the provision to take the consent of state for making the law. And now the point is the subject matter of the parliament or the state. Therefore, the subject matter, if you will see, there is a that subject matter is related somehow in under the state list, also in concurrent list. Some obligation is live on the center government. Therefore, the parliament has enacted this law, in 86 and applicable on the Jammu and Kashmir, including the Jammu and Kashmir. It means within the territory of India, this have the enforcement of this law. And the reason is that I have said that the very clear reason, there is no boundary for the environment. If a industry has established in Gurgaon, so certainly it will affect the other cities also. If the industry has established in the Srinagar or Jammu, that will affect the other Himalayan range. Certainly it will affect, because the year is coming, water is coming, and this is the pollution in the air and the water and soil also, and that soil will affect the agriculture production, and therefore the application of this law as a special characteristics is in Jammu Kashmir in the year 1986. I am talking about the 1986. Therefore, this is very clear. Okay. Now, the second part, second section 2, which is the subject matter of the chapter 1. And that the section 2 is always related to the definition, as you know. And these definitions are starts from the A, small a, either A in some legislation. Now the style is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But the definition of the particular word which has used in a act shall be alphabetical. Various times I have expressed my views, and some candidate students are practitioner lawyer. They have the habit to know what is the structure of the legislation and what should be written, where it should be written, how it can be searched, and how it can be understood. These are the issues which should be applied by every student at the time of entering to assess or analyze or to critically analyze the provisions of law. This is your duty, because you are the student of LLM, you are not the student of LLB. And that section 2, each of the A to J, this should also be keep in your mind that how many subsections are in particular section. That always there should be the habit to know or to understand the system of the law which is written there, and that part that I will discuss the definition written under this aspect, which says that the under section 2 relating to this aspect of the law, and from the point of the section 2. But summary discussion it requires before entering into the detailed analysis of the definition given under section 2, which includes the definition of environment or industrial environment. There is the another part, and that part is chapter 3rd. It starts from the section 3 to 6. It is from 3 to 6, and that is related to the powers of the center government for